So I've put together a little bit of a kind of a structured session to do with boudoir photography on the Academy, which is from styling to sales. But I thought before we get into each of the 10 topics kind of in a separate way for each individual film, we'll kind of just do a quick overview with it. So if we start off at the top where we're looking at booking and pre-session, for me, this is one of the most important part to make sure that we're passing the clientele the most important information that they need and to alleviate any kind of worries that they might have. Why? Because obviously, undressing in front of a stranger and basically then going in through a photographic shoot is going to be a daunting task no matter what kind of experience that you've kind of have. So as far as the information that we're passing across to a client, it has to really encourage them and to make sure that they can feel powerful even before they come in for the shoot itself. So leading up to the session, we have a couple of touch points. One would be a call about 3 days prior, just to have a kind of general chat, remind them about kind of what lingerie to bring in, kind of their favorite shirt or whatever it'll be as well. And once we get to the day, then of course we can relax in a little bit. I've spoken to them or you've spoken to them. So at least they're going to be on a different kind of a wavelength than just if all the contact is via email or app or whatever it would be. When we're into the actual session, I've already set the studio up, or if I'm working ever in a client's home or in a hotel room, before kind of I even think about bringing the client in, I want kind of the lighting on hand that I'm going to do. If in doubt, I'll always kind of revert to just one light. Better to actually, because really, we live in a world with one sun and one light. So if we can master that one light, whether it's going to be a softbox for soft kind of diffused lighting, or we're going to be using the likes of gridded light or barn doors, hard lighting to kind of recreate a very, very sunny kind of effect. I want that in place. As a rule, the position of the light will be kind of if the camera is at the 6 o'clock position and the subject is on, let's say, the bed, in the middle of the bed, so that would be the middle of the o'clock dial, then really I want my lighting from the 3 to the 9 o'clock, the 9 to the 3 o'clock position. That makes sure that the lighting is always behind them, so we get kind of more dramatic images and so on. And for me, that's really what the boudoir photography is about, is a little bit more dramatic lighting. So traditionally I'd usually use the light at say 10 o'clock, or I'd use it at 2 o'clock. Camera settings, if we're using flash, of course, I'm going to have the minimum ISO. I'm usually going to shoot at f4 to f2.8. I'm usually going to be on a 50mm prime lens. And then as far as the kind of the shutter speed is concerned, if I'm working with flash, then I'm usually on 125th of a second, no matter what. I shoot a RAW and a JPEG file at the same time. My JPEG is always set in black and white mode, and that is what will actually appear on the back of the camera as such. As far as the RAW is, of course, that's where we're going to work from. That's where we're going to turn the images into black and white if that's what we're going to do. But I always find that if I'm going to show images to a client during the shoot, a black and white image is so much more complementary than kind of the reality of color. As far as camera position is concerned, I definitely dance around the subject. So if the subject's in the middle of the o'clock to begin with, and the light is, say, at the 10 o'clock position, and I start at the 6 o'clock, I can absolutely guarantee you I'm going to kind of move to my left at some stage. I'm going to move to my right. I'm going to end up at the other side of the bed or the subject as well. So at that point, the light is going to be quite flatter. But I want to dance around, and that includes kind of the camera height positions as well. So not only do we have the kind of the two sides of the bed, the front and the top of the bed as well, but we've also got the overhead, so kind of looking down, what we call a flat lay. And basically we've also got the kind of the upshot as well, to kind of shoot from the floor up if we're kind of shooting with dramatic windows behind. But camera position, I'm always dancing around. As far as the posing and the session flow is concerned, obviously the more experienced you are, you'll go from your first kind of pose, which will relax the client, make them look great, not be too much tension in the body, will allow them to kind of think about one or two things instead of lots of things like hands and fingers and chin position and kind of lifting the body off the bed, blah, blah, blah. There's loads of things there. So I kind of want to really kind of transition the shoot from the kind of the simpler images to the more kind of controlled posing. It's very easy to shoot with models because they're used to doing it. They're not going to be as nervous as a client is, if at all. But that client is going to be nervous. So the kind of the direction that I give them and the poses that I put them in, I want it to be a natural kind of transition from one thing to another. And we'll explore that when we look at the full series of flow and pose and so on. As far as the compositional space and the frame is concerned, I just don't want to shoot really close-up images or fill in the frame. My wife always explains it as, we don't want to shoot value for money photography. What does that mean? Where basically the client is full to the edges of the frame. We want to allow space around the image because we're more likely to sell bigger images for the likes of the wall, and they'll look a lot better in a compositional space if there's a lot of space around the image as well. So a subject at some stage will be at least, say, 1/3 of the frame size, and basically at most, if it's a detail shot, that is the only ones that we're really going to be filling the frame with. Post-session and post-production, we need it to be as kind of quick and as simple as we can. So if we do it right in the light, if we do it right in the camera stage, it means that when we get into the post-production, all I've really got to do is use the Adobe Camera Raw to change the texture. So slide the texture down to a minus 75-ish, and then in a clarity down to a minus kind of 5. As far as that will give me the softness to the skin, but maintaining the texture within the image, like hair and so on with it as well. And of course, we've got the ability, if I really need to actually soften skin, to actually use the masking element as well. With black and white, obviously I'll kind of desaturate all of the colors in HSL, where in the saturation they'll all be to 0. And at that point, I can then brighten the likes of the oranges of reds to actually illuminate their skin tone just that little bit more as well. The post-production, though, should be good enough for like a box of prints sale. So I shouldn't have to revisit the images if all the client's going to have or buy is an app or a box of prints. It's really when they're going for the wall, that is really where I'm going to the image again and doing a final finish to make sure it's perfect for a big image. Sales and selling, I prefer to work in a face-to-face selling. The biggest problem in doing online sales is the client has an easy option not to buy or buy the minimal. So getting the client back in and kind of doing either, a slideshow and then a viewing and a choice of the best on the likes of a television screen or through a projector will really make a difference. Or if you're into the reveal wall, it can be a little bit expensive when you're having all the prints done in advance, especially if you kind of show a client as many as I do, about 48 shots. That's kind of an expense that you don't really need to have, and they look great on TV, on a monitor or on a projection screen as well. So I much prefer to sell in that way. But I do understand how so many boudoir photographers like the idea of the reveal wall for the client to go away straight away with the images. As far as the sale is concerned, then they do have to pay a minimum of 50% up front actually on the day, unless they're going through our interest-free credit and so on with it. Products and packages will go hand in hand. Let's face it, we're in 2024. Most of the clients want digital, but those clients are going to regret not doing anything with their digital. So that's the kind of thing that we want to really kind of talk to them about. I don't believe in heavy selling in any way, always letting the client buy what they want. But if I can kind of put all the packages together right, then pretty much we're guaranteed to have a really good sale. And then what I want to make sure, of course, is that we're staying in touch. We're staying in touch with the client post the viewing, post the pickup, and I want them to actually feel that they can actually talk to us or come back to us at any stage. I want to check with the client that it's okay to use their images in social media as well. I need to make sure that they've kind of signed that kind of image release. And I think with the likes of boudoir photography and fine art photography, we definitely need to get that absolutely kind of nailed down, and don't presume it with a normal contract, because obviously, it's a delicate subject anyway. So we want to make sure sure we've got that full permission. But also by staying in touch, they can be a good rep for us as well, and they can be telling their friends about how great it was. And of course, we can offer them kind of offers to actually encourage them to get their friends to come in as well. So that's an overview for you of what we're going to be doing in this Style into Sales part of the Boudoir Photography series.